Sarita, would you like to read?
Hello, Anmol. I'm just finishing dinner. Can I do the
Ah,
next one? Yeah,
yeah,
next one.
okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Uh, Dhaval bhai?
Yeah, sure. The soul and the psychic being. A distinction has to be made between the soul in its essence and the physical and the psychic being. Behind each and all, there is the soul, which is the spark of the divine. None could exist without that. But it is quite possible to have a vital and physical being supported by such a soul essence, but without a clearly evolved psychic being behind it. Okay, interesting. There is indeed an inner being composed of the inner mental, inner vital, inner physical, but that is not the psychic being. The psychic being, the psychic is the inmost being of all and quite distinct from these. The word psychic is indeed used in English to indicate anything that is other or deeper than the external mind, life, and body. Or it indicates sometimes anything occult or supraphysical. But that is a use which brings confusion and error, and we have almost entirely to discard it. The psychic being is veiled by the surface movements and expresses itself as best it can through the three outer instruments, which are more governed by the outer forces than by the inner being or the psychic entity. But that does not mean that they are entirely isolated from the soul. The soul is in the body in the same way as the mind or vital. But the body is not this gross physical body only, but the subtle body also. When the gross body falls away, the vital and mental sheets of the body still remain as soul's vehicle till these two dissolve. The soul of a plant or an animal is not dormant, only its means of expression are less developed than those of a human being. There is much that is psychic in the plant, much that is psychic in the animal. The plant only has the vital physical elements evolved in its form. The consciousness behind the form of the plant has no developed or organized mentality capable of expressing itself. The animal takes a step farther. It has a vital mind and some extent of self expression, but its consciousness is limited, its mentality limited, its experiences are limited. The psychic essence, too, puts forward to represent it as a less developed consciousness and experience than is possible in man. All the same, animals have a soul and can respond very readily to the psychic in man. The ghost of a man is, of course, not his soul. It is either the man appearing in his vital body or it is a fragment of his vital structure that is seized on by some force or being of vital world for its own purpose. Mm. For normally, the vital being with its personality exists after the dissolution of physical body for some time only. Afterwards, it passes away into the vital plane, where it remains till the vital sheath dissolves. Next one passes in the mental sheath to some mental world. But finally, the soul leaves its mental sheath also and goes to its place of rest. If the mental is strongly developed, then the mental being can remain, and so also can the strongly developed vital, provided they are organized by and centered around the true psychic being. They then share the immortality of the psychic. Oh, but ordinarily, this does not happen. There is a dissolution of the mental and vital, as well as the physical parts, and the soul in rebirth assumes a new mind, life, and body, and not, as is often supposed, a replica of its old nature self. Such a repetition would be meaningless and useless, and would defeat the purpose of rebirth, which is a progression of the nature by experience, an evolutionary growth of the soul in nature towards its self-finding. At the same time, the soul preserves the impression of what was essential in its past lives and personalities, and the new birth and personality are a balance between this past and soul's need for its future.
There
There
is
is
a
a
footnote
note.
also.
Yeah, there are cases in which there is a rapid rebirth of the exterior being with a continuation of old personality and even the memory of its past life. But this is exceptional and happens usually when there is a frustration by premature death and a strong will in the vital to continue its unfinished experience. Beautiful.
Right, thank you. Actually, this letter is having two versions. The one which follows it is also a kind of revised version of the same letter.
अच्छा अच्छा
So, yeah, lot of the content is the same, but मतलब एक साथ में पूरा बाद में पढ़ेंगे one after the other. So I would request somebody else,
चलो
whoever would like to read the next one also, and then we will cover these two together. Basically one letter, but written twice. Would like to read? Sarita? Sarita was busy. Nirupama
Yeah,
ji?
I can do it.
Please read, Sarita.
Okay, where do I start from? A distinction, no?
Yes.
A distinction has to be made between the soul in its essence and the psychic being. Behind each and all, there is the soul, which is a spark of the divine. None could exist without that. But it is quite possible to have a vital and physical being without a clearly evolved psychic being behind it. Still, one cannot make general statements that no aboriginal has a soul or there is no display of soul anywhere. The inner being is composed of the inner mental, inner vital, inner physical, but that is not the psychic being. The psychic is the inmost being and quite distinct from these. The word psychic is indeed used in English to indicate anything that is other or deeper than the external mind, life, and body, anything occult or supraphysical. But that is a use which brings confusion and error, and we entirely discard it when we speak or write about yoga. In ordinary parlance, We may sometimes use the word psychic in the loose popular sense or in poetry, which is not bound to intellectual accuracy. We may speak of the soul sometimes in the ordinary and more external sense, or in the sense of the true psyche. The psychic being is veiled by the surface movements and expresses itself as best it can through these outer instruments, which are more governed by the outer forces than by the inner influences of the psychic. But that does not mean that they are entirely isolated from the soul. The soul is in the body in the same way as the mind or the vital, but the body it occupies is not this gross physical frame only, but the subtle body also. When the gross sheath falls away, the vital and mental sheaths of the body still remain as soul's vehicle till these two dissolve. The soul of a plant or an animal is not altogether dormant, only its means of expressions are less developed than those of a human being. There is much that is psychic in the plant, much that is psychic in the animal. The plant has only the vital, physical, and evolved in its form, so it cannot express itself. The animal has a vital mind and can, but its consciousness is limited and its experiences are limited. So the psychic essence has a less developed consciousness and experience than is present or at least possible in man. All the same, animals have a soul and can respond very readily to the psychic in man. The ghost is, of course, not the soul. It is either the man appearing in his vital body or it is a fragment of his vital that is seized on by some vital force or being. The vital part of us normally exists after the dissolution of the body for some time and passes away into the vital plane where it remains till the vital sheath dissolves. Afterward, it passes Afterwards, it passes, if it is mentally evolved, in the mental sheath to some mental world. And finally, the psychic leaves its mental sheath also and goes to the place of rest. If the mental is strongly developed, then the mental part of us can remain. So also can the vital, provided they are organized by and centered around the true psychic being. Can you just take it up? Where is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, around the psychic being, for they then share the immortality of the psychic. Otherwise, the psychic draws mind and life into itself and enters into an internal quiescence
Internatal.
or internatal quiescence. What does that mean?
Internatal means between two births.
Oh, and okay.
Natal means birth, na? Natal chart.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So now, I mean, whatever is distinct in these two letters, nikalte hain. The question is not there, but obviously he's asking we can guess the questions. What is the essence? What is the psychic being? How is the psychic being like in animals, plants, etc., etc. This nature. So yeah, a distinction has to be made between the most of it we have covered, but इसमें भी कुछ चीजें ऐसी आई हैं जो पहले नहीं थी. So that is why we are going through these letters so thoroughly. A distinction has to be made between the soul in its essence and the psychic being. Just for sake of clarity, soul in its essence the terms that we have used for it so far from the time we branched out to the letters on yoga: spark soul, that was the main word; psyche, psyche, psychic entity. These are the three words that we have used for it, right? A distinction has to be made between the soul in its essence and the psychic being. Psychic being ke liye, the other words that we have used are psychic personality, soul
Antaratma.
personality. Antaratma, actually, you will see. I'll come to that. Who is Realme RMX 3944? Who is that? Two other joinees Samsung phone se bhi usse. Okay, doesn't matter. I'll ask them. Antaratma, see, antar means inner. Okay. And the psychic being is inmost. So technically, the word in Sanskrit for that would be antartam atma, if you understand what I mean.
हम्म
Antaratma can also mean the inner being.
हमने अंदर एक लेटर में पढ़ा था इसलिए मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ
I know. He's referring to a phrase from the Upanishad, Purusho Antaratma. So maybe there they are calling the psychic being as the Antaratma because they are not distinguishing between the inner and the inmost.
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा
Yeah, but Sri Aurobindo makes a clear difference inner and inmost, जैसा इन्होंने अभी second paragraph में किया है. And inner के लिए the word would be antar, and
हाँ
for innermost the word would be
अंतरतम
antartama. हाँ,
अंतरतमा ओके दैट्स
antartama.
वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग राइट
Yeah.
ऑल्सो अनमोल भाई जस्ट वन थिंग सोल तो हम जीवात्मा बोल रहे थे ना अभी तक तो इन इट्स
Uh,
एसेंस सोल इन इट्स एसेंस इज जीवात्मा
नहीं नहीं, हम आते हैं उस पे, यही क्योंकि ये डाउट्स रह
क्योंकि
जाते हैं
ये क्योंकि
इसीलिए. नहीं नहीं,
हाँ,
आई विल कम टू दिस बिकॉज सी वी हैव बीन एट इट फॉर ऑलमोस्ट 2 months, बट स्टिल इस
या
तरह के डाउट्स आते हैं. दैट इज व्हाई द यूजफुलनेस ऑफ हैविंग दीज सेशंस कवरिंग ऑल
because
दीज लेटर्स. आई
the
विल ट्राई
word
टू
is
क्लैरिफाई.
soul in its essence. I am confused there. That
या
is
या
where you need to
या
clarify
या
for
या
me, please.
सी बिहाइंड ईच एंड ऑल देयर इज द सोल व्हिच इज द स्पार्क ऑफ द डिवाइन. ठीक है, द नेक्स्ट सेंटेंस. सो the soul in its essence, when he is using this phrase here, he means the soul within you, inside the human system. Okay? Which he is calling in the next sentence as the spark of the divine.
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा
Okay?
अच्छा
आप जो बोल रहे हैं, that is the entity above the head,
Correct.
yes, of which this soul in its essence or spark is the projection here. So once again, we can begin from the supreme. So there is the सुप्रीम सेल्फ परमात्मा. ओके, गीता का 10.8 फर्स्ट 3 words, अहम सर्वस्य प्रभवो, आई एम द ओरिजिन ऑफ एवरीथिंग. ओके, नाउ when we look at it in
Prabhavo.
this,
Barabar. Pra means to go forth and bhava means to become. So
yeah,
Prabhavo means I have become,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, everything is my forward becoming or my forward projection. Again, projection mein pra.
Hmm.
Yeah. So when you say origin, that means, it seems as if the Jivatman had no origin before the Paramatman projected it, in the sense that the Paramatman had not individualized itself and become this particular Jivatman. Okay, but it should not be thought wrongly that there was ever a time when we were not there. ठीक है, ये ये गलती नहीं करनी है. This is a fundamental mistake if we think like this when we are studying Vedanta. Our truth, as said in the Gita, is there was never a time when we were not there. There will never be a time when we will not be there. We are eternal. ठीक है, इसके लिए the main 3 shlokas which I have referred to so far, I'll tell the numbers, not the shlokas. 2.12, 2.20 and 15.7. मतलब those interested, they can look up the shlokas and go through them. Okay.
So
So,
Anmol bhai, you have taken the cue
mm,
from the word behind, it seems to me, because usually Sri Aurobindo uses above two
yeah,
words very frequently,
exactly,
above and behind.
exactly,
So above when he says he means the Jivatman, but
exactly.
when he says behind,
Yes,
he means the spark of the divine. Is
correct,
this correct?
correct. And again, that phrase from the letters, the Jivatman or the central being is above the manifestation in life and presides over it. So the
हाँ
pair of
आदि
words
अक्षर
there is above and preside. ठीक है?
हाँ
Whereas for the soul, the word is, it is behind the manifestation in life and supports it.
हाँ
So
so
the
the
first
keywords
is,
are behind and बराबर
acha,
अभी
these are not two different things. They are two different poises of the same thing.
correct correct correct
Okay. तो above presides, behind supports.
Adhyaksha and
Yeah.
Bharta.
Yeah, Adhyaksha and Bharta, you can say. उपद्रष्टानुमंता च भर्ता भोक्ता महेश्वरः. दिस इज आज भी मैंने श्लोक उसमें डाला था, आई थिंक 13.23 ऑफ द
Yeah,
गीता,
yeah.
है ना. अच्छा, भर्ता मीन्स जो अपबियर करता है. इंग्लिश का वर्ड बियर संस्कृत के भ्री धातु से ही आता है, विच मीन्स टू अपहोल्ड, टू अपबियर, टू सपोर्ट, उसका भरण करना. जैसे बोलते हैं ना भरण पोषण, दैट वर्ड कम्स फ्रॉम द सेम रूट. भ्री इज द रूट.
Even Bharya comes from the same root then.
या वो
Or
बियर करती है, मे बी द फैमिली और द चाइल्ड, मे बी दैट इज वाई.
yeah,
करेक्ट. It's a very, very interesting study, the study of Sanskrit and its roots. Very, very interesting and very rewarding.
yes.
What was the one for the above? What is the word for
अध्यक्ष,
the
अध्यक्ष, अधि प्लस अक्ष. अधि माने ऊपर, अक्ष माने देखना.
no, so that the one above
That
is
is
the
जीवात्मन, the central being.
acha central being.
तो संस्कृत में, संस्कृत लिटरेचर में इट इज सिंपली कॉल्ड द जीवा, और इलेबोरेटली जब पूरा नाम बोले तो इट इज कॉल्ड द जीवात्मन. ओके. इन द इंटेग्रल योगा Sri Aurobindo calls it the central being. It is our true being. Okay. So once more. So there is the Paramatman at the top, which is the origin of everything. Supreme self in English. Okay. When that individualizes and becomes you and me, then it is called the Jivatman. Okay. Till such time, matlab, it has not started presiding over the manifestation, or maybe we can say that the moment it decides to manifest, basically manifestation means the individual being, right? So the Paramatman becomes the Jivatman, and it has decided to preside over a particular manifestation, but the manifestation has not yet begun. Okay. Again, these are things in which the sense of time is, we are bordering on eternity when we speak of these things. So one has to visualize, imagine, be a little flexible in one's mind, कि उसको बहुत ज़्यादा हम rigid तरीके से sequence में या chronologically ना देखें. This chronology and this sequence is more from the point of view of intellectual understanding. In the self, there is no time. The self is beyond time. Kalatita. Right? This has to be kept in mind when studying Adhyatma.
So there is no past, present, future.
In the self, there is no past, present, future.
Okay.
In the ultimate absolute reality, there is no past, present, future.
But
Past, present, future is part of the manifestation. When that reality manifests itself and becomes the world, then the past, etc., time comes into being. वो मतलब टाइम के बियॉन्ड है, इट इज इटर्नल. द वर्ड फॉर इट इज, कई वर्ड्स होते हैं संस्कृत में, सनातन, शाश्वत, चिरंतन, नित्य, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, विद देयर वेरिंग शेड्स ऑफ मीनिंग, बट बेसिकली इट इज इटर्नल, व्हिच मींस इट इज बियॉन्ड टाइम.
So when Krishna tells Arjun that इनको तो मैं और मार चुका हूं पहले ही,
that is part of the manifestation in time. Correct. He says that in the 11th chapter, that he is speaking of the manifestation in time. Okay. But वही कृष्णा ये भी कहते हैं कि ये ऐसा कभी नहीं था जब ये किंग्स नहीं थे 2.12 में, और ऐसा कभी नहीं होगा जब ये किंग्स नहीं होंगे. तो what does it mean? कि there is no such thing as time. They were always there as the, वही, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only change one form from one form to another form. जो law of conservation of energy के नाम से physics में पढ़ाते हैं. I mean, we have to build some bridges between our modern education and the, the true knowledge, right? So from that point of view, I'm giving this example.
Okay.
Yeah. The verse which Sarita is referring to comes in the 11th chapter, where he says, Maya hatan tvam jahi. Maya hatan means, Maya means by me, hatan means killed. So they are already killed by me. Tvam jahi. Jahi means to slay. You only do the slaying bit. तुम्हारा काम इनको actually slay करना है. They are already killed by me. This verse comes in the 11th chapter, one of the most amazing verses of the Gita. Right? So once more, the Paramatman, the Supreme Self, that takes an individual poise and becomes the Jivatman, what we call in the integral yoga the central being. Okay, that central being, when it comes into a manifestation to support it, it is called the soul spark. Okay, or psychic entity or psyche. That same thing that develops a psychic personality around itself, or we can say projects a psychic personality from itself, and that is what is called the psychic personality or psychic being or soul personality, etc., etc. And this last thing, psychic being, is the thing which grows from life to life. Last time we had Vardhamanam, Svedame. It increases towards its own home. That own home is the divine. It's the, मतलब where it is mentioned, it means the supermind. वेद के वर्ष में, ऋग्वेद के पहले सूक्त में आता है, right? It only increases. उसके अंदर केवल वृद्धि होती है. This question was raised last time by संजीव भाई, राइट? अच्छा, और लास्ट टाइम के सेशन से कनेक्ट करने के लिए अभी एक फ्लो के अंदर, सो द परमात्मन, देन द जीवात्मन विच इज द इंडिविजुअल सेंट्रल बीइंग, देन द सोल स्पार्क. This soul spark develops around itself this psychic personality or soul personality. Okay, now further delegation, the psychic being is not active from the beginning, the Chaitya Purusha, right? Chaitya Purusha is the Sanskrit term which Sri Aurobindo has used for the psychic being. Okay, so till such time the consciousness is governed, because that Purusha, that lordship element is needed in Prakriti through either the Annamaya Purusha, the Pranamaya Purusha, or the Manomaya Purusha. Okay, now we can either imagine the Manomaya, the Pranamaya, or the Annamaya as projections of the Chaitya or of the soul entity, or we can imagine them as projections directly from the central being representative. It does not make too big a difference. भाई इसमें इतना वो rigidity नहीं है. The thing to be understood clearly is only this, ये important है, there is only one Purusha. ठीक है, देर इज ओनली वन पुरुष, एको हम द्वितीयो नास्ति. ठीक है, एकम एव अद्वितीयम ब्रह्म, वहां पे जो वर्ड यूज्ड है वो है ब्रह्म. ओके, देर इज जस्ट वन पुरुष इन इट सुप्रीम पॉइस, इट इज कॉल्ड पुरुषः परः. लास्ट टाइम भी देहे अस्मिन् पुरुषः परः, राइट? इस देह में वही सुप्रीम पुरुष है. ओके, that supreme Purusha becomes the individual Purusha. It's called Jivatman or central being. That same Purusha, individual Purusha, becomes the soul spark. That same Purusha becomes the Chaitya Purusha. That same Purusha further जब वो अपने आप को माइंड वाइटल और बॉडी के लेवल पे इवॉल्व करा रहा होता है, it evolves itself through this, through मतलब by becoming rather the Manomaya Purusha or the Pranamaya Purusha or the Annamaya Purusha. Now, of course, the difference is there between the Manomaya and the Chaitya, but difference भी समझना होता है. This is what is called Vijnana, detailed knowledge or comprehensive knowledge, but at the same time, never to lose sight of the fact that all are essentially one and they are all coming from the one original Purusha. इसको ज्ञान कहते हैं.
Anmol bhai, we had read that these Purushas in the earlier letter are projections of the psychic
Yes,
Purusha.
yes, exactly. Okay, clear? अभी इसमें किसी को कोई डाउट तो नहीं है? Because this is absolutely fundamental. अभी आने वाले maybe 2 or 3 sessions will need to finish this section of the letters. इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं रहना चाहिए.
Sorry, this Purushottama, which he says in the 12th in the 15th chapter, so that is the Paramatma, the Purushottama.
Yeah, it is the Paramatma, Purushottama. और भी गीता में वर्ड्स हैं उसके लिए, परम ब्रह्म, परमेश्वर, परः पुरुषः. These are like the 5 words that come to my mind.
Okay.
जिसमें they are always speaking of the supreme entity. Okay.
Yeah.
Paramatma comes in the 10th chapter, Purushottama comes in the 15th chapter, Paraha Purushah comes in the 13th chapter. Okay, Parameshwara comes
wherever the Paraha is there.
Yeah, wherever the Para is coming.
Supreme,
उसमें भी, since you have asked the question, so obviously the natural question will arise कि भाई अगर अलग अलग words हैं तो क्यों हैं? because they are trying to show different facets or aspects of the same supreme entity. So when the same supreme entity is shown as the supreme substratum of the universe, it is called Param Atma. आत्मा मतलब जो सारी चीजों का एसेंस है. ओके, व्हेन दैट सेम एंटिटी आप बताना चाहते हैं कि वही इनका लॉर्ड और मास्टर और कंट्रोलर है, देन वी यूज द वर्ड ईश्वर. सो वी कॉल इट परमेश्वर. ओके, when we want to say that it is your own highest person, it is your own highest self,
परम
जब हम ये
पुरुष
कहना चाहते हैं हाँ, तब हम कहेंगे पुरुषोत्तम. ये सुप्रीम पर्सन है. दिस इज द सुप्रीम पर्सन विद whom you can have relations of bhakti also, right? और योर ओन हाईएस्ट सेल्फ जब हम कहना चाहेंगे तो हम यूज करेंगे द वर्ड परमात्मा. ओके, और क्या बचा? परह पुरुष, अगेन मीनिंग द उत्तम पुरुष एंड परह पुरुष बेसिकली सेम. एडजेक्टिव का फर्क है, एक में उत्तम एक में पर. राइट, देयर वाज वन मोर वर्ड, परमात्मा, परम ब्रह्म. हाँ, परम ब्रह्म इज इंपॉर्टेंट. व्हाई? बिकॉज ब्रह्म जो शब्द है, ब्रह्म कम्स फ्रॉम द धातु ब्रिह, which means to expand, basically meaning the infinite. Okay, the ever expanding, the infinite. बृहत शब्द उसी से आता है. Okay, so ब्रह्मन और एब्सोल्यूट जैसे इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेट करते हैं उसको, in the Vedanta, that is the Upanishads. Gita is also Vedanta, but when we say Vedanta, we mean the Upanishads. Okay, Brahman is the main word, and the Gita synthesizes the yoga, of which the main word is Ishvara, Sankhya, of which the main word is Purusha, and Vedanta, of which the main word is Brahma. Okay, and philosophical, metaphysical circles may still the word that is used or preferred is the word Brahma. So Brahman is everything. Brahman is everything. You know, Sarvam Khal Vidam Brahma. This comes in the Chandogya Upanishad 3:14:1. Ekam Eva Advitiyam Brahma. This comes in the, I think, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Okay, तो सभी कुछ ब्रह्म है, बट गीता वांट्स टू क्लैरिफाई परम ब्रह्म, द सुप्रीम ब्रह्म. सो उसलिए जब गीता डिस्टिंग्विश करती है बिटवीन दैट सुप्रीम ब्रह्म एंड नॉर्मल ब्रह्म, तो वहां पे परम वर्ड नहीं आता है. इट सिंपली सेज ब्राह्मी स्थिति in the last verse of the second chapter, or in the last verse of the 14th chapter it will say brahmano hi pratisthaham, ब्रह्म की प्रतिष्ठा मैं हूं. तो जो उपनिषद वाला बंदा होगा जो ब्रह्म वर्ड को सुप्रीम समझ रहा है, वो स्कैंडलाइज हो जाएगा कि ये क्या बोल रहे हैं. अभी भी आई मीन आई हैव आर्ग्यूड विद स्कॉलर्स जो कहते हैं कि नो, देयर इज नो सच थिंग एज द पुरुषोत्तमा, डिवाइन डिवाइन कुछ नहीं होता, इट्स जस्ट कॉन्शियसनेस, इट्स जस्ट एनर्जी. बिकॉज यू नो, फॉर वट एवर रीजन they have not either studied the Gita deeply, or that element of bhakti or that element of, you know, personal relation with the divine is missing. But the Gita clearly says, I'm sorry thoda detour ho raha hai, but you know, this is the tenor of these sessions, we go very thoroughly and deliberately, right? So brahmano hi pratishtha aham, मैं ब्रह्म की प्रतिष्ठा हूं. और ये कौन बोल रहा है? ये परम ब्रह्म बोल रहा है. Is it clear?
Anmol bhai, even if you look at the word pratishtha means I have gone forth, tishtati. I have situated my from going forth in the being. So that in that way it applies to the individual soul and not to the Paramatma.
Correct.
Just to add, Anmol bhai, since you mentioned this, if you allow me one sentence
Please go.
of Sanskrit, because I'm a Sanskrit lover like you. So we learned, right, and I don't know if it helps others, but Sanskrit is a property-based language, and English is an object-based language. So Agni ke liye bhi we have so many words. So it signifies the property. Ag means to move forward. So Agni, when we use the word, it moves upwards or forward. But Shushma bhi kehte hai. But why? Because Agni has the property to dry up. So as you said, Anmol bhai, this Paramatma, Parabrahman. So the different facets or different properties are being highlighted of that same entity, or in other words, the guna of that central be of the Paramatma is being
the different
elaborated.
aspects or facets of the supreme reality. We are emphasizing more on that aspect when we are using that particular word. Right?
This is the power of Sanskrit.
This is the richness of Sanskrit, and Sri Aurobindo says that spiritual things have not been formulated and so properly organized in any other language than Sanskrit, which is the rational explanation of the usage of so many Sanskrit terms throughout his books.
This I have learned only by from Dr. Sampad Anand ji, हाँ?
Yeah.
Otherwise नहीं तो ये सब knowledge नहीं होता इतना.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So almost half the session is
So,
gone.
so,
Shall we move forward?
top is Paramatma, then is a Jivatman,
Yes.
then is a psychic entity.
Then is a psychic entity, and then that becomes a psychic being, Chaitya
Okay.
Purusha.
हाँ.
And you could further say, if you want to say, कि again ये जो psychic being है, ये मनोमय या प्राणमय या अन्नमय के रूप में अपने आप को प्रोजेक्ट करता है, and it works through them and it grows and evolves through them till such time that it has become mature and strong enough to replace the manomaya purusha and control the being on its own.
So what is the personality of a Manomaya or a Pranamaya?
Manomaya basically means the mental being, the developed mental part in you, the mental witness in you. See, in every level of our being, there is the energy, the prakriti, the motion which is going on, and a witness part, which is seeing that and approving it or rejecting the movements, giving some clarity, etc. So that witness part is what is called the Purusha. So that Manomaya is the short form for the Manomaya Purusha.
Okay.
Is it clear?
And what about Pranamaya?
Pranamaya would be the same thing, but for the vital level. Pranamaya hoga animals mein, या in less developed human beings.
Okay. And
Similarly,
Annamaya?
Annamaya at the level of the pure material material existence.
Okay.
Essentially वही जो last time का हमने sentence बोला था, without him I exist not, without me he is unmanifest. So यहाँ पे it's about Purusha and Prakriti. This is a statement of mother. So without the Purusha, the Prakriti cannot exist. And without the Prakriti, the Purusha cannot manifest. So wherever Prakriti or nature is there, some kind of Purusha has to be there to support it and to give it the light and energy and everything, etc.
Okay.
मैंने आज सावित्री का वो पुरुषा एंड प्रकृति के ऊपर जो पूरा पैसेज है फ्रॉम 1.4 द सीक्रेट नॉलेज, आई हैव लिंक्ड द दिस थिंग URL. So reading that will give amazing clarity on this whole play of the masculine and feminine aspect of existence.
So this first sentence, a distinction has to be made between the soul and its essence and the psychic being.
Yeah.
So that means ki the soul is what you're saying is inside
The spark
us.
soul, yeah, the spark
It
soul,
is
the psychic
spark
entity.
soul. Okay, so that is above us.
No, the spark soul is within us. The spark soul, in its turn, is a self projection of the central being. The central being is above us.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Yeah.
For more clarity, Sarita, you might need to see some of the earlier recordings. You missed many of the sessions.
Yes, I did.
है ना, तो आपको वो देखेंगी तो you will get some level of satisfaction.
Okay, thank you.
Most welcome. A distinction has to be made between the soul in its essence and the psychic being. Behind each and all, there is the soul, which is the spark of the divine. None could exist without that. But it is quite possible to have a vital and physical being supported by such a soul essence, but without a clearly evolved psychic being behind it. Yeah. So just that soul essence is there. A clearly evolved psychic being is not there. वो अभी evolution नहीं हो पाए. It is quite possible to have a vital and physical being. See how technical this is. मतलब
Exactly.
अध्यात्म, हाँ. This is
Anmol
the
bhai, does
reason
it
why we
mean?
are reading the letters to get this
Ah,
एकदम बारीकी से जो knowledge है ना, and ये
correct.
this is not to be found in any other spiritual
No,
literature.
nowhere. This statement I've been pondering since I read it. I'm thinking that is इसका ये connotation ये हो सकता है कि clearly evolved psychic being नहीं है, मतलब is this lower creation?
Obviously, something undeveloped,
Undeveloped, right? Okay. Crude, correct. So
it is with the development of the psychic being that the fineness and even material level पे जो texture के अंदर beauty आएगी या form के अंदर beauty आएगी, that will come only with some development of the psychic being, of the psychic essence basically.
Correct. So that means this would be more like that amoeboid kind of things where
Yeah,
it
you can say that. You can say that.
extremely lower
Yeah,
creation,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Even animals may, it is quite possible to have a vital and physical being supported by such a soul essence, but without a clearly evolved psychic being behind it. So many animals obviously उनका clearly evolved psychic being नहीं है तभी तो वो animal stage पे है. When
Correct.
it does
Correct.
become a clearly evolved psychic being और इतना development हो गया, then it मतलब shifts to the human level, the
Correct.
entity.
Because that the consciousness within cannot hold, the form cannot hold the
Exactly.
consciousness
Exactly.
energy within.
Exactly. And which is why once your psychic being has evolved to the level of human, it cannot go to a subhuman level again.
हाँ
It's only a part of the vital which can go. I think वो part इसमें आ रहा है. That
हाँ
is
हाँ
mentioned.
correct.
One
Okay.
person has dropped off. Doesn't matter. Maybe some reason. Okay. Okay. So this much is clear. इसमें तो कुछ नहीं है. Anybody else has anything to share, question वगैरह before I move forward? चलो. Okay. There is indeed an inner being. Now, he distinguishes between the inner and the inmost. There is indeed an inner being composed of the inner mental, inner vital, inner physical. But that is not the psychic being. The psychic is the inmost being of all and quite distinct from these. इसीलिए मैंने जब वो कहा ना कि मनोमय पुरुषा कैन बी लुक्ड अपॉन एज अ सेल्फ प्रोजेक्शन ऑफ द चैत्य पुरुषा, तो जो क्वाइट डिस्टिंक्ट है, बट वही वो क्वाइट डिस्टिंक्ट भी याद रखना है फॉर द पर्पसेस ऑफ द प्ले एंड फॉर द एसेंशियल नॉलेज वी हैव टू रिमेंबर कि इट इज द वन पुरुषा विच अलोन इज विच हैज बिकम ऑल दिस. ये वो वननेस का नॉलेज इफ वी डोंट रिमेंबर देन इट बेसिकली मतलब हिंडर्स अवर मार्च फॉरवर्ड.
अनमोल भाई, एक ये लाइन से एक क्वेश्चन मन में आ रहा है, which I am tempted to ask. Inner mental, inner vital, inner physical, would this be part of the subtle body then?
या
क्योंकि inner, the word is,
inner physical is also called as subtle physical.
हाँ, so that is why I the can, so outer, when we say outer mental vital body, that is gross physical.
Yeah.
And when we say here, when Sri Aurobindo uses inner mental vital physical, he is meaning the sthula,
Again,
the
there is a
dharana
very
sharira.
नहीं, again there is a very superficial part of the mind also. ठीक है. तो आप
Okay.
उसको आप क्या कहेंगे कि क्या वो स्थूल शरीर का पार्ट है? स्थूल
External
शरीर,
mind, na?
हाँ, एक्सटर्नल माइंड.
Which is the mechanical rutting mind, which
Yeah,
goes on
yeah,
rutting.
yeah. But if you cut open the body, you are not going to find that mind inside you, right? तो इसीलिए the choice of words that Sri Aurobindo uses is perfect. तो जहां सटल यूज करना
हाँ,
होगा वहां पे वो सटल करेंगे, जहां
अच्छा।
इनर करना होगा वहां इनर करेंगे, लाइक दैट. सो
नहीं, पर इसमें हमें कैसे समझना चाहिए इसको, सटल, तो
आप
सटल क्या
समझने के लिए पहले आगे पढ़िए, आपको समझ में आ जाएगा.
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा।
थोड़ा सा पेशेंस अगर रखें हम,
हाँ हाँ
तो वो क्लियर हो जाएगा. इनर का मतलब सिंपली जो थोड़ा अंदर है, जो भीतर है.
हाँ।
ऑब्वियसली अगर आप एक्सटर्नल या सुपरफिशियल बीइंग के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखें, इट इज कंपैरेटिवली सटलर. तो यू आर राइट, सटल कैन बी यूज्ड. बट देन वही कि एकदम उसके बीच में वन टू वन मैपिंग कर देना मे नॉट बी करेक्ट.
That is what I was doing, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I could sense it. Okay. Okay. There is indeed an inner being composed of the inner mental, inner vital, inner physical, but that is not the psychic being. The psychic is the inmost being of all and quite distinct from these. The word psychic is indeed used in English to indicate anything that is other or deeper than the external mind, life, and body. आ गया ना? External mind, life, and body.
Hmm.
That which is turned outwards. ठीक है? Or it indicates something, sorry, or it indicates sometimes anything occult or supraphysical. Occult माने जो हमारे नॉर्मल
Correct.
साइट विजन वगैरह से छुपा हुआ है, हिडन. Occult literally means hidden. Supraphysical माने anything which is above the physical, above the physical plane. But that is a use which brings confusion and error, and we have almost entirely to discard it. So that what he means by psychic being or psychic is very clear and distinct as compared to normal parlance में psychic phenomena बोलते हैं ना. All these things are generally called psychic phenomena, but that is not what Sri Aurobindo means by the word psychic. That is what he's clarifying here so far. Okay. Next. The psychic being is veiled by the surface movements and expresses itself as best it can through the three outer instruments, mind, life, and body, which are more governed by the outer forces than by the inner being or the psychic entity. But that does not mean that they are entirely isolated from the soul. The soul is in the body in the same way as the mind or vital. But the body is not this gross physical body only, but the subtle body also. When the gross body falls away, the vital and mental sheaths of the body still remain as the soul's vehicle till these two dissolve. What is called the Pranamaya Kosha and the Manomaya Kosha.
But here when he uses subtle, here he means the traditional subtle body then.
एक सेकेंड. हाँ, yes. तो subtle body का definition synthesis of yoga में he has given, it is the Manomaya Kosha.
Manomaya Kosha, acha.
Yeah. Gross body many times in the synthesis. So Sthula Sharira is the Anna Kosha and Prana Kosha put together. Okay. Sukshma Sharira is the Manomaya Kosha. And Karana Sharira is the Vijnana and Ananda Kosha.
Okay, so one question then in relation to the earlier paragraph. So the Manomaya Kosha will also have the inner mind along with it, and
अब
also
वही है ना, when you say Manomaya Kosha, so हाँ वो mind है उसका, but when you say Manomaya Kosha, he is referring to the material aspect of the mental domain that way. Kosha word जो है ना, Kosha word has that sense of substantiality, if you understand what I mean. But yeah, basically it refers to the mental, to the mind, to the mental vehicle. ज्यादा उसमें अभी नहीं जाएं वो और आगे आगे जैसे हम प्रोग्रेस
क्योंकि
करेंगे.
मैं ये डिफरेंस नहीं पकड़
एसेंशियली जो आप कह रहे हैं वो सही है.
कंफ्यूज हो गया हूँ कुछ. कोई बात नहीं, आगे बढ़िए.
नहीं बोलिए, अगर है तो कुछ कंफ्यूजन नहीं छोड़ना.
यही इनर मेंटल शीथ में बेसिकली जो
मेंटल शीथ बेसिकली मींस द माइंड, द मेंटल बीइंग.
हाँ, mental being, which is the subtle body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the inner mental is a part of that kosha, Manomaya Kosha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That helps. Yeah.
The inner mental would be the Manomaya Kosha. When the gross body falls away. Sarita had a question. She was raising her hand.
It was a little I wanted to ask you, you had sent this message today, na, about that how the sword of the warrior is as necessary to the fulfillment of justice. Ramdas is not complete without Shivaji. So Shivaji is the warrior, the Kshatriya. So would his psychic being also be as developed? Or wouldn't he be more of an external mental?
His psychic being, would be developed enough to the extent that he is capable of getting instructions from a great guru like Ramdas. It would not be totally undeveloped. Of course, it is his vital being which would be more strong and powerful. But even to be able to get instructions from a guru like Ramdas, or as the legend goes that Bhavani herself came to him and gave him the sword. So you need to have a developed psychic being. It cannot be given to an ordinary person. Okay. It has to have some level of development. That quotation was shared by Archana ji.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what to do because the remaining time here in 10 minutes we cannot cover both the letters. Chalo, we'll try. Yeah. The soul of a plant or an animal is not dormant. only its means of expression are less developed than those of a human being. There is much that is psychic in the plant, much that is psychic in the animal. Like basically the affection that pets have, especially dogs, etc. Plant ke andar bhi one can sense it, a kind of harmony, a kind of peace. Flowers, for example, his mother says clearly, love for flowers is a valuable help in finding your psychic being. She has said this sentence. Another yogi I read, he said, flowers are a yogi's best friend, right? So there is much that is psychic in the plant, much that is psychic in the animal. The plant has only the vital physical elements evolved in its form. The consciousness behind the form of the plant has no developed or organized mentality capable of expressing itself. The animal takes a step farther. It has a vital mind and some extent of self-expression. They also do their planning and even some kind of uh, जो construction वगैरह भी करते हैं अपना and all that. So it has a vital mind and some extent of self-expression, but its consciousness is limited, its mentality limited, its experiences are limited. The psychic essence too puts forward to represent it a less developed consciousness and experience than is possible in man. Yeah.
So actually, Anmol bhai, this sentence, the other one, right, which you just read,
Oh,
the
I'm
conscious,
highlighting.
their consciousness is animal takes a step further, wala.
Oh,
It has a vital mind and some content of some extent of self expression, but ये सब limited है. So is it because कि उनमें जो मनस है वही विकसित है, बुद्धि जैसा कुछ है ही नहीं एलिमेंट,
हाँ हाँ, कम है, बहुत कम है.
बहुत कम है, या इट्स जस्ट
मनस आप
क्लाउडी?
क्लैरिफाई कर दें, बिकॉज नॉर्मली मन से भी कंफ्यूज कर जाएंगे मनस को. बाय मनस ही मीन्स द सेंस माइंड,
हाँ, द
which is
सेंस माइंड,
basically the
यस, हाँ,
indriya.
Indriya. And that is why in one of the earlier letters we read, it says it is a, for the animals, it is a pranamaya purusha sharira neta.
Yeah. We didn't read that, but we kind of inferred that.
No, it was there in one letter, I
Acha, it
think.
was there. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. All
For
the
us,
same.
for
हाँ,
human being, it is manomaya sharira
Purusha,
prana
Prana Sharira Neta.
neta. Huh.
And in the,
Animal world, it is purush. This what you call the
yeah,
pranamaya is the prana sharira
yeah,
neta.
but I mean, Manomaya wo hai abhi, but that is what ki the Manomaya has to be overtaken by the Chaitya, the psychic being.
Hmm.
आज भी मैंने ग्रुप पे एक वो डाला था मदर का एजेंडा में से दो कोटेशंस कि द टाइम ऑफ द ईगो एंड इट्स यूटिलिटी
Ah.
फॉर द इंडिविजुअलाइजेशन एंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज ओवर. नाउ द साइकिक बीइंग इटसेल्फ कैन कम फॉरवर्ड एंड टेक चार्ज ऑफ द एवोल्यूशन. Right? Okay, the psychic essence too puts forward to represent it a less developed consciousness and experience than is possible in man. This is talking about the plant and animal stage. All the same, animals have a soul and can respond very readily to the psychic in man. This is important. Psychic.
Yeah.
Animals have a soul. This is why sometimes, आजकल एक trend सा चल रहा है कि people instead of sometimes getting married and having children, they have pets. I
Exactly.
mean, they trust pets more than they trust human beings that way. They feel a
And
more pure affection from pets than they do from human beings. So, I
And
mean,
I was Anmol bhai, when I read this sentence, when I was reading this letter, immediately it struck to me कि जो योगी पहले जो या तो अभी भी जो हिमालय में जाते हैं और when they come across animals, but moment they see a yogi, they do not attack. They become as calm, very calm
yeah,
and docile and
yeah,
submissive in front of
yeah, yeah.
that. That
There
is
are,
because they can sense the psychic being, right?
yes. They
ये
respond. They
sentence.
respond. They respond to a developed psychic being. They respond to it.
Tailanga Swami had a cheetah, no? He had a cheetah or a leopard or a lion, I don't remember.
I don't know. Trailanga Swami.
Tailanga, I think, yeah, yeah. He mentioned in the autobiography of a yogi, I think.
अच्छा, he was
Uh,
living in बनारस, तो वहां पे तो नहीं है
But
चीजें वगैरह.
some share animals would just
I have
become
heard of,
quiet.
मतलब हाँ, it's known about yogis that even animals who would otherwise fight with each other, in the
Yeah,
yogi's presence, they become very harmonious.
वो
About
वैशीपना चला जाता है.
Yes, Ramana Maharshi, when he had moved to Arunachala,
हाँ.
1894, I think. So he was a 16-year-old boy at that time. So something like that, 1894 or something. So it was quite wild. अभी भी आप जाएं तो the forest is quite there and all. So I've heard about him के some wild animals, in his presence, they would become very docile and they would not bother him or bother each other.
That this line actually reminds of that, na? Oh, oh,
Yeah, animals have a soul and can. We'll try to finish at least reading these two letters.
sure. Yeah.
Otherwise, to spill this over to the next session won't be, very this thing. Might be very boring also actually for many people. All the same, animals have a soul and can respond very readily to the psychic in man. Hmm. The ghost of a man is of course not his soul. Ghost क्या होता है? It is either the man appearing in his vital body, or it is a fragment of his vital structure that is seized on by some force or being of the vital world for its own purpose. Yeah.
Exorcism.
Oh. That I mean, I'm why I'm pausing is because वही ना जो बारीकी से the way in such
नहीं, ये
detail
भले
he has
इसको
told.
टाइम लगे अनमोल भाई, यार शांति से जाते हैं,
No, no,
because
no.
this
I know. Even I won't
I'm
rush.
reminded of this line when you read. I was reminded of that movie, Akshay, what is that? Oh, Manjulika wala. In there, she's in possession of
Yeah.
some vital being, right? Which is
Yeah.
trying to express through
Yeah, it's
her,
basically the vital being. The vital
but
being.
in the living body, not in the vital body. This is a difference there.
Yeah. For normally, the vital being with its personality exists after the dissolution of the physical body for some time only. Afterwards, it passes away into the vital plane where it remains till the vital sheath dissolves.
That is the 13 days, right? In our, as a
Yeah,
ritual, in our.
yeah, correct. That is for the release of the vital being, those 13 days period is sort of kept.
और उसी में बोलते हैं कि ये बहुत journey is very treacherous
And
and this
you know
and
what,
that.
like the
हाँ.
जो पिछला सेंटेंस था उसका सेकंड पार्ट, seized on by some force or being of the vital world for its own purpose. So, it
हाँ,
sounds a little dangerous and
correct.
an opportunity to remind ourselves कि this is the reason to, behave properly when you are having the human body. Do good things, be a good person, find that psychic being, at least become sattvic. Otherwise, too much greed, too much lust, too much desire, ambition, etc., it can even lead to this kind of stage where आप टूटे बिखरे से पड़े हो and some entity is misusing you.
I have read somewhere in written by the mother that she has created a bridge so that
Yeah,
people who have turned
correct,
to her. Uh,
correct. But मतलब this is basically to say that वही ना सतत युक्त, always making effort for union with the divine and always making an effort to improve one's consciousness. उसमें laxity नहीं होना. And basically, I mean, to not indulge in the lower things too much. Too
hmm.
much indulgence in greed or lust or other kinds of desires. I mean, one does them at one's own peril, basically.
Anmol, what about the other religions who don't follow that 13-day thing? What happens with them?
They might be following something else. I'm not very aware, but uh,
I think उनमें ghost वगैरह भी उनमें ज्यादा होता है.
maybe that is why. नहीं, it's simply कि they do not have that, उनका वो knowledge उतना developed नहीं है. जैसे exorcist word इन्होंने यूज किया था, तो वो बेसिक क्या होता है कि if some vital entity is doing mischief like this, then that is taken away and it is released and it is, kind of given mukti from this play. So that word comes from the Christian tradition, तो कुछ होता होगा,
हाँ
but yeah, Hinduism में all this is, it's because of the depth of the culture, the उसका टाइम में लेंथ कोई जानता नहीं है कितना पुराना है, तो इट ऑल दीज थिंग्स ये सब एकदम परफेक्टली डेवलप्ड, एकदम उसके सिस्टम्स वगैरह बना देना, मंत्र पूजा, एवरीथिंग इज देयर नाउ अगेन इन मॉडर्न, इफ यू रीड श्री अरबिंदोस लेटर्स, so I mean today's priests, they don't know the procedure also so well, right? So matlab there might be exceptions who do, but
but
the
Anmol bhai,
knowledge
if
is
you look at
become,
on
हाँ
Tuesdays at Hanuman, this
हाँ हाँ, बालाजी में
young
होता है राजस्थान में,
कौन स्वामी जी है वो, क्या नाम उनका, बहुत बहुत पॉपुलर है,
हाँ
वो
हाँ बागेश्वर
ट्यूजडेज को
धाम,
और सैटरडेज को ये सेशन एग्जैक्टली इसी के लिए रखते हैं, दोज हु आर हेल्ड बाय दोज वाइटल बीइंग्स इन द
हाँ,
लिविंग बॉडी,
अच्छा,
they remove it on those days by sprinkling water. Even if you go to Sarangpur
या
in Gujarat, Kashtabhanjan Hanuman,
या,
there they do this vidhi.
चलो, we should not talk too much about these things lest we
No,
invite them.
just
No, no,
since we
I
are
understand, I
on
understand.
this,
Yeah,
so
we have already 9 6 एक घंटा हो गया है, तो those who want to leave can leave. We'll try to cover at least this letter today. Shall we do that, right? It'll take 4 5 minutes max to
please,
finish
please,
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. For normally, the vital being with its personality exists after the dissolution of the physical body for some time only. Afterwards, it passes away into the vital plane, where it remains till the vital sheath dissolves. Next one passes in the mental sheath to some mental world. अब ये some mental world, when I read this, so Savitri में, all those gradations of the mental worlds are mentioned in book 2. The books of the, sorry, the worlds of the greater mind and the worlds of, कई सारे उसमें माइंड के प्लेन्स दे आर डिस्क्राइब्ड देयर, सो टू टू सम मेंटल वर्ल्ड, ये जो टू सम मेंटल वर्ल्ड है, मेंटल वर्ल्ड इज बेसिकली अ काइंड ऑफ स्वर्ग. So the word swar is used in the Veda for the mind. So bhu is physical, bhu, bhuvah svari is vital, and swar is mental. So it will be some kind of a swarga, like that. Heavens of the ideal, this canto is there in Savitri, right? ये मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूं, to get a glimpse of those mental worlds, what those mental worlds are like, one can refer to or read those cantos of Savitri. Okay. But finally, the soul leaves its mental sheath. For that matter, the vital worlds are also described there in the earlier part of the book. But finally, the soul leaves its mental sheath also and goes to its place of rest. ये जो place of rest है, this is covered in Savitri in the canto called The World Soul, uh, book 2, canto 14. उसमें भी एक particular section where this phrase comes, internatal trance, exact phrase है. So one can search for that on Incarnate Word and one can read that section to get an idea of what that psychic world is like. मतलब अच्छा सा, there is like almost I think 2 3 pages on the psychic world in that book, in that portion. Okay. If the mental is strongly developed, then the mental being can remain, and so also can the strongly developed vital. An example of this I had given in the uh, quotations on the group before this, wherein I pasted mother speaking about her vital beings from previous lives and all that. मैंने already उसका example दिया हुआ था. It is there on the group. One can read those passages, provided they are organized by and centered around the true psychic being. This is the key thing. Why? And why? Unite your personality around your psychic. Unite your personality around your psychic. Otherwise, all that is not organized and centered around the psychic, it does not share the immortality of the psychic, and it will disintegrate and dissolve into the universe.
So Anmol bhai, ये जो soul place of rest, would it be same as psychic rest, right? Which is
Yeah,
referred
yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah. Place of rest is the psychic world where the psychic being rests.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the more important point, ये जो phrase है, I'm highlighting it. Organized by and centered around the true psychic being.
हाँ, this last
This
time we
should
have
be
spoken.
our
Correct.
chief aim, to
Hmm.
organize and center our whole personality around this. They then share the immortality of the psychic. वही बेसिकली अगेन अगर हम सिंपल टर्म्स में बोलें जो हमने पहले भी कहा था साइकिक के लिए. I don't want to oversimplify because obviously Sri Aurobindo does not do it and should not be done. Satyam, which would be for the mental part, right? So the seeking for truth and the quest for truth and the relentless quest for truth. Cease not from knowledge, let thy toil be vast. This line of Savitri can be a guideline, right? Shivam, goodness in the vital, you know, generosity, gratitude, all those things. If we look at the mother symbol, all those qualities when we develop in ourselves, aspiration, perseverance, receptivity, courage, progress, equality, generosity, gratitude, goodness, all those अभी मुझे पूरा एक सीक्वेंस में याद नहीं आ रहा है. And sundaram, beauty, manifesting it in ultimately even in our body, but in our thoughts, feelings, all that. So that is what is the organization and centering around bhakti, shuddha ahaituki bhakti, self-giving. In all our sessions, we are referring to these characteristics of the psychic, right? But ordinarily, this does not happen. There is a dissolution of the mental and vital, as well as the physical parts and the soul in rebirth. Acha. But ordinarily, this does not happen. What does not happen? The organization and centering around the two psychic being. So the immortality of the psychic is not shared. मेहनत बेकार हो जाती है in that sense.
हाँ,
इसमें और
I
आगे
was about
आएगा,
to ask.
इसमें और आगे आएगा. नहीं नहीं, totally बेकार नहीं होता है. That will also come. It will
Okay.
come in this letter and the next one. There is no need to feel dejected. Okay? Ordinarily, this does not happen. There is a dissolution of the mental and vital as well as the physical parts, and the soul in rebirth assumes a new mind, life, and body, and not, as is often supposed, a replica of its old nature self. Now, this is a big myth which he is busting. कि वो बिल्कुल वैसा ही नेचर होता है जैसे पहले था. The same artist is born as another great artist, and he will give the explanation for that. Such a repetition would be meaningless and useless and would defeat the purpose of rebirth, which is what? A progression of the nature by experience and evolutionary growth of the soul in nature towards its self finding. So, if the same personality is there over and over again, then this growth does not happen. A progression
No,
of the.
but in the Gita, when Arjun asks Krishna that मैं मर गया बीच में तो क्या होगा, he says you'll start exactly from where you left.
Yes,
So
but
is
that
it
he is referring to the essence of the experience that he has gained, which is carried forward by his psychic being.
okay?
Even, I mean, वही मैं कह रहा हूँ, थोड़ा सा अगर हम पेशेंटली वेट करें, उसका क्लैरिफिकेशन श्री अरबिंदो आगे देने वाले हैं इसमें.
Okay, all right.
Some of your mental developments, vital developments वगैरह, they are also carried forward. But मतलब you have to wait a little for the exact words to come. It will not
उनकी
be.
एसेंस डिस्टिल होके जाएगी आगे, ऐसा इसका.
Yes, yes, yes. Such a repetition would be meaningless and useless and would defeat the purpose of rebirth, which is a progression, blah, blah. At the same time, the soul preserves the impression of
Yeah.
what was essential in its past lives and personalities. See,
हाँ,
this is what.
डिस्टिलेशन, हाँ यही
Yes,
है.
exactly. This is the sentence. The soul preserves the impression of what was essential in its past lives and personalities, and the new birth and personality are a balance between this past and the soul's need for its future. Right? If we
Beautiful.
again read the next letter, it will take at least 20 minutes though.
थोड़े वर्ड्स का ही डिफरेंस है, ज्यादा
थोड़े
तो.
words का difference है. I mean, if there are 10 people, I think, on the call still, if we allow, then we can go on for maybe another 10 minutes and try to finish it. Shall we do it?
और if you can just highlight the difference rather than finishing the letter,
Yeah, we
that
can
would.
do that also, but वो मेरे को इतना text इतना याद नहीं है. तो maybe
Okay,
what is
okay.
same, we will just skip it and the new part we will cover. We can do
Okay,
that. उससे जल्दी हो
sure.
जाए. Okay. So a distinction has to be made between the soul in its essence and the psychic being. Same sentence. Behind each and all, there is the soul, which is the spark of the divine. None could exist without that, correct? But it is quite possible to have a vital and physical being without a clearly evolved psychic being behind it. Same thing. Still, one cannot make general statements that no aboriginal has a soul. ये नया sentence है. This was
ये
not.
aboriginal वाला नहीं है, correct, yeah.
One cannot make general statements that no aboriginal has a soul or there is no display of soul anywhere. Okay? So the soul, the essence is there behind everything. None could exist without that. Okay. Next, the inner being is composed of the inner mental, inner vital, inner physical, but that is not the psychic being. The psychic is the inmost being and quite distinct from these. The word psychic is indeed used in English to indicate anything that is other or deeper than the external mind, life, and body, anything occult or supraphysical, but that is a use which brings confusion and error, and we entirely discard it when we speak or write about yoga. ये phrase पहले वाले में नहीं था, when we speak or write about yoga. Okay. So when we are talking about yoga, psychic in Shiva Bandhu's yoga means the psychic being. Okay. In ordinary parlance, we may sometimes use the word psychic in the looser popular sense or in poetry, which is not bound to intellectual accuracy. We may speak of the soul sometimes in the ordinary and more external sense or in the sense of the true psyche. Okay. In the looser popular sense or in poetry. Okay. Which is not bound to intellectual accuracy, etc., etc. ये तो बहुत case specific होगा depending on the usage of the word that we cannot really go into now. Yeah, it's almost over. The psychic being is veiled by the surface movements and expresses itself as best as it can through these outer movements, which are more governed by the outer forces than by the inner influences of the psychic. But that does not mean that they're entirely isolated from the soul. The soul is in the body in the same way as the mind or vital, but the body it occupies is not this gross physical frame only, but the subtle body also. Again, little language difference. When the gross sheath falls away, the vital and mental sheaths of the body still remain as the soul's vehicle till these two dissolve. The soul of a plant or an animal is not altogether dormant, only its means of expression are less developed than those of a human being. There is much that is psychic in the plant, much that is psychic in the animal. The plant has only the vital physical evolved in its form, so it cannot express itself. The animal has a vital mind and can, but its consciousness is limited and its experiences are limited. So the psychic essence has a less developed consciousness and experience than is present or at least possible in man. All the same, animals have a soul and can respond very readily to the soul in man. The ghost is, of course, not the soul. It is either the man appearing in his vital body,
Double
or
quote
it is
on
a
sky
fragment of
difference.
his vital that is seized on by some vital force or being. The vital part of us normally exists after the dissolution of the body for some time and passes away into the vital plane where it remains till the vital sheath dissolves. Afterwards, it passes, if it is mentally evolved, in the mental sheath to some mental world. And finally, the psychic leaves its mental sheath also and goes to its place of rest. If the mental is strongly developed, then the mental part of us can remain. So also can the vital, provided they are organized by and centered around the true psychic being, for they then share the immortality of the psychic. Otherwise, the psychic draws mind and life into itself and enters into an internatal trance.
This is new.
Yeah, this is new. If the mental is strongly developed, then the mental part of us can also remain. Okay. So also can the vital, provided same thing what you said in the previous one, provided they are organized by and centered around the true psychic being, for they then share the immortality of the psychic. हाँ, तब वो disintegrate नहीं होंगे, वो वहां पे intact रहेंगे, stuck to the psychic that way. Otherwise, the psychic draws mind and life into itself. आ गया ना जो आपका डाउट था धवल का और सरिता का. द साइकिक ड्रॉज माइंड एंड लाइफ इनटू इटसेल्फ. तो जो भी उनका एसेंशियल डेवलपमेंट या एक्सपीरियंस है, इट इज ड्रॉन एज एसेंस इनटू द साइकिक, राइट? It is not lost. See, preserves the impression. Here the languages preserves the impression of what was essential. ठीक है? Here the language is draws mind and life into itself. तो naturally कहाँ lose हुआ? जो भी उनका ट्रू डेवलपमेंट है, एसेंशियल डेवलपमेंट है, इट इज नॉट लॉस्ट. इट डज नॉट मेक एनी कॉमन, इट डज नॉट अपील टू कॉमन सेंस इवन. हाउ कैन इट बी? गीता में 2.40 में एक है, नेहा विक्रम नाशोस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्. तो न इह अभिक्रम नाशः अस्ति. सो इन दिस वर्ल्ड एनी अभिक्रम नाशः मतलब जो प्रोग्रेस होती है उसका नाश नहीं होता है.
Abhikrama means a certain forward movement. That way. 2.40 में आता है. Right? So otherwise, Gita ke again 6th chapter mein what Sarita was referring to towards the end of the 6th chapter. So prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashvati samaha. By the way, when it says prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashvati samaha, so it is some of these mental worlds which Krishna is referring to over there. Ki having dwelt in some of these higher worlds, you come back again in the 7th or 8th chapter. It comes Kshine punye martya lokam vishanti. Like that, it comes. Okay, having enjoyed the fruits of these worlds, those are those higher mental worlds, those kind of svargas where the soul stays. Right? Yeah. So otherwise, the psychic draws harm. I should finish that. Prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashvati samaha शुचीनाम श्रीमताम गेहे योगा भ्रष्टो भिजायते अथवा योगिनाम एव कुले भवति धीमताम एतद्धि दुर्लभतरम लोके जन्म यदीदृशम तत्र तम बुद्धि संयोगम लभते पौर्वदेहिकम. आपकी इंटेलिजेंस आपकी सोल से जितना यूनाइट हो गई थी, तत्र तम बुद्धि संयोगम लभते पौर्वदेहिकम इन योर प्रीवियस बॉडी. तत्र तम बुद्धि संयोगम लभते पौर्वदेहिकम यतते चततो भूयः. You again strive. Bhuyah means again. Yatate chatato bhuyah samsiddhau kurunandana. You again strive for samsiddhi, for perfection. And then the verse comes, Yatate chatato bhuyah samsiddhau kurunandana purvabhyasena tenaiva hriyate hyavashopisaha. By the force of your previous effort in whatever direction. But here he is meaning the direction of the divine. Okay? Purvabhyasena tenaiva hriyate. He अवशोपिसह. हरण आपका द्वारा से कर लिया जाता है because of the force of your previous practice, and again you are pulled back on the path of the divine. पूर्वाभ्यासेन तेनैव. Yes. मतलब इसके बिना तो योग हो ही नहीं सकता. ह्रियते, exactly. ह का, the word ह means force, where Sri Aurobindo has given the meaning of each consonant. ह उन्होंने बोला ह means force.
That is hanyate to destroy.
So यतते भूयः संसिद्धौ कुरुनन्दन पूर्वाभ्यासेन तेनैव ह्रियते ह्यवशोऽपि सः जिज्ञासुरपि योगस्य शब्द ब्रह्माति वर्तते. तो अगेंस्ट इवन इट्स विश, एज इफ अवशः, आपका बस नहीं चलेगा. इवन अगेंस्ट योर विल, दिस इज द डिवाइन. यू विल बी अगेन, आपका फिर से आपके चित्त का हरण हो जाएगा, एंड अगेन यू विल बी ऑन द पाथ ऑफ योगा बाय द फोर्स ऑफ योर पूर्व अभ्यास. So basically वही कि do as much abhyas as you can. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. I know it is difficult, but through abhyasa and through vairagya, the mind can be brought under the control of the self. Right?
Beautiful.
Otherwise, the psychic draws mind and life into itself and enters into an internatal.
ह्रियते and draws बहुत मैच
ह्रियते
करता है.
मतलब खींच लेना, हरण कर लेना.
Draws, ये वही हुआ.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I feel so happy when I'm able to attend the class. It's amazing.
I also feel very happy, and you have such questions, and जिज्ञासाएं होती हैं. कई लोग बोलते नहीं है, हेजिटेशन भी होता है, कुछ भी होता है. जितना क्वेश्चन हो उतना बेटर रहता है. It always resolves many unasked questions by many other people also. So please join whenever you can. You are
I
most
really
welcome.
I look forward. I definitely try.
Everyone is enjoying. At least I'm enjoying a lot. I can also say that for myself.
Really.
Anybody else has any question, any sharing, anything to say? Otherwise, we close with silence.
Anmol, I had one thing more to ask you.
Please go ahead.
Like we are being taught to pray to all the gods every day. शिव जी की भी करते हैं, पार्वती जी की भी, all the gods. But I also hear कि एक ही भगवान की, मतलब just choose one and just pray. So what is a better way of going about it?
See,
say we are taught कि
first things first. All these different gods are not different gods that way, okay? They are all the one God in different forms.
Personalities.
Yeah. So they are the different personalities of the same supreme Godhead, right? But yeah, as far as clear answer of this is concerned, it is there at two places in the Gita. Devan Deva Yajo Yanti, Mad Bhakta Yanti Mamapi. The worshippers of the gods attain to the gods, my worshippers come to me.
Yeah.
So, my worshipper mane, jo worshippers of the Supreme. If you are seeking that absolute and supreme, you will reach that. Otherwise, what will happen is you might end up in some kind of sectarianism or some kind of, you know, fanaticism. Even Shaivism, Vaishnavism में हो जाता है कभी कभी, आजकल तो नहीं होता, that sort of thing. और एक और जगह गीता में है इसी तरह का श्लोक है. So basically, I mean, the right answer that I can tell to myself and everybody is, okay, we get attracted. Acha, why do we get attracted towards these different gods? It's not just because we are told to, okay? It's because in our past lives, we have engaged, we have done bhakti of these godheads. We don't remember that. But उसका जो संस्कार है वो हमारी चेतना में है. So that again वो ह्रियते वापस हमें उस तरफ खींचता है उस तरफ, right? So yeah, keep in mind the idea that all these are different facets of the one divine Godhead, right? And उसमें भी, I mean, again, इसको actually what it comes to is जिसको बोलते हैं इष्ट देवा का concept in India. So
Yeah.
if you have a particular liking for one particular god, focus on that. That particular ishta will sort of become the window into infinity for you. This is the best thing that can be said on this.
So you're saying that pray to all the others who you want to, but keep your Ishta as your priority.
Yeah, whoever is your ishta na,
हाँ.
आपका, और वो भी पता है क्या होगा, gradually as your bhakti for your ishta becomes more and more strong, more and more intense and all consuming sort of, it will sort of become impossible for you to think of other gods. It will be, गीता में इसके लिए the word है अव्यभिचारिणी भक्ति. So व्यभिचार means adultery basically. So you will, मतलब again it's very extreme, but वो इतना concentration हो जाएगा उस फॉर्म पे कि बाकी आपको आएगा ही नहीं. अगर आएगा भी तो आप, अगर गणेश जी को भी प्रणाम कर रही हो लेट्स से, तो आप कहोगे कि हे गणेश जी, मैं आपके अंदर जो कृष्ण विद्यमान है मैं उनको प्रणाम करती हूँ. You know, it will become like that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So वो धीरे धीरे
yeah,
Krishna will only guide me into it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And मतलब focus has to be there on one, because multiple में फिर वो, मतलब again it's difficult to say, because then again you know it leads to a multi-sided development और वो सब, but
Because
वो
वही
नहीं.
ना, हमें वो मंडे को
And
शिव जी
again,
की करते हैं, ट्यूसडे को हनुमान जी की करते
exactly,
हैं,
वो
वेडनेसडे
करना में
को.
कोई गलत नहीं है, as long as you understand that these are aspects of the divine. So if I am praying to हनुमान, और again पता है इसको आदि दैविक से अगर हम अपने ऊपर ले आए, साइकोलॉजिकली ले, कि हनुमान जी की भक्ति करने से हमको स्पिरिचुअल ग्रोथ क्या होगा, हमको परफेक्ट
Correct.
डिवोशन, श्री अरविंदो ने बोला है उनके बारे में, हमारे अंदर वो परफेक्ट डिवोशन आएगा, हमारा साइकिक बीइंग बाहर आएगा. साइकिक बीइंग का मतलब ही परफेक्ट डिवोशन है, राइट? हमारे अंदर उनका वो बल आएगा ना, that strength, that vital strength will come to serve the divine, like that. Shantimaya Shiva, he says. So if you are concentrating on Shiva, that peace will come. But ultimately it has to be said that you have to focus on one Ishta, and that it can be a guru, or it can be a god, or it can be an avatar, whatever it is, उस पे आप fix करके जब चलेंगे, then that is the fastest way for forward movement.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm stopping sharing the screen. We'll just be quiet for a minute before closing. Sorry to break the silence, but I just feel like saying कि जो सरिता ने क्वेश्चन उठाया है, so in the Gita this phrase comes in the 7th chapter, Mattah parataram nanyat kinchidasti Dhananjaya. There is nothing more supreme than me, O Dhananjaya. Very clear, and he who is speaking in the Gita, Shri Bhagavan jo hai, that is the supreme. So if you try to know that supreme, to devote yourself to that supreme, then there is nothing higher than that. But then again, वो sectarianism नहीं आना चाहिए कि मैं कृष्णा वर्सेस शिवा या विष्णु या वो सब नहीं होना चाहिए, बिकॉज द जो गीता का भगवान है, इट इज इंक्लूडिंग एवरीथिंग इन इटसेल्फ, सो दैट wideness, that all encompassing Catholicity has to be there. But there is nothing more supreme than the Shri Bhagavan of the Gita. उसके बारे में और next time भी बात कर सकते हैं, but for the moment, for the sake of completeness, this much.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm stopping the recording.
Thank you.